I hate product data syndication, and I'll tell you why. Join me on a little trip in my Wayback Machine to the year 2002. This is the year that I started working in the data management department in my family's wholesale distribution business. And I did this as a side job while I was working through college, helped me pay for the car and some fun things that I wanted to do on the weekends that I cannot go into much detail about here. However, I did get a very quick and exhaustive experience in working with product data and specifically as it relates to catalogs. So I actually started building a product syndication library while I was working through college. And I was responsible for taking manufacturer product data and normalizing that content and adding it into a catalog, following very specific normalization rules to make sure that the catalog content was exactly uniform across different manufacturer brands so that a distributor could take that information and use it to publish, get this, a print catalog. And that was what we did. That was where what would become my future e-commerce business got its start. We started as a catalog PIM, essentially. It was a place where we did all of the work for the distribution channel that we were working in, industrial, safety, and supply. And the thing about what I learned is that the content that a manufacturer had back then versus the content that a manufacturer has today is really night and day. And it's great to be able to say that. We've come a very long way in wholesale manufacturing verticals. And in fact, I'll tell you how bad it really was. At one point, we had the business thriving so much so that we ended up building a large photography studio because many of the manufacturers who we were working with on behalf of our distributor customers simply did not have good quality photos of their products. And that was one of the services that we offered. Send us your products. We'll take them out of the box, put them in our studio. We'll take good high res images of it. I remember the old like Nikon, cameras and light boxes and everything. It was crazy. But not only did we do the photography, but we would also go in and write the detailed descriptions of the product. And we would build out the attribute and SKU part number tables that the distributors needed for their catalogs. And of course, all of this eventually became a PIM that powered our B2B e-commerce platform that we ended up selling and growing. And it turned into a really, really great business. And it was one of the first really industry specific data plus e-commerce solutions in the industrial distribution space. So it was a phenomenal experience. That's where I learned so much of what I put into practice today. But I will say that back then there was a real need for a middleman. There was a need for a syndicator, and there were other syndicators like us popping up at the time. And these were companies that knew how to use a PIM. They knew how to manage product data well. And they were able to work with large groups of manufacturers. Sometimes it was facilitated through a buying group or, sponsored by an industry association. But a lot of these started popping up. And again, this is 20 plus years ago. And the need was real. And the reason why it was so important was that a manufacturer simply was not staffed to be able to handle the problem or the demand of distributor product data. Okay. And so, what did that look like back then? It looked like spreadsheets being transferred through FTP sites, looked like emailing, spreadsheets back and forth. Hey, can you get me your catalog in this format? Oh, no, 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 I don't want your whole catalog. I just want, your best sellers. Okay, I don't want your best sellers. I just want this category. Oh, and by the way, it needs to be in this format. And so you can imagine a product manager or the marketing team at the manufacturer was frustrated with the back and forth, the manual processing of this product data. Okay, this was a massive issue. And so then you started seeing a proliferation of different PIM systems that were starting to hit the market, and a lot of more digitally innovative manufacturers started to adopt these PIM systems. And that was great because now they were able to have that one single source of truth, and it allowed them to create workflows for approving product data, and it was very helpful. But there was still this problem. The main problem is that they had this issue of providing content from them to many, many distributors, oftentimes hundreds, if not thousand plus distributors in their market. So think about that challenge. What does that look like? I mean, not only do the distributors need data for their ERP systems in order to, handle basic processing, but they also need that data enriched format so that they can load it to their website. And I would say sometime in the 2010s, things started to shift. Things started to look a little different, right? This is where you started seeing these middlemen, these syndicators pop up. And they had a very important role. And the role, because I have to say this at the outset because it sounds like I'm just bashing them about what I'm going to say in a minute, but not really. I want to say that they did serve a very important purpose, and even today, I think there's a lot of value in what they do. But so they solve this problem, right? And I call it the spreadsheet purgatory that distributors and manufacturers found themselves in when trying to distribute this rich product data across many, many different distributors. And not only that, but the distributors, it wasn't really a one-to-many problem. It was actually more like a one-to-many problem because distributors needed this data in different types of formats. And one of the things that the syndicators were able to identify was, okay, what we need is the ability for many manufacturers to submit their product information into one database. We then can take that database and normalize the content so that it can be easily disseminated to many different distributors. And that was great, right? Because that kind of solves the problem of custom product data requests. So now manufacturers, depending on the type of customer, like if you're a massive national distributor, big box distributor, and you account for 20% of their annual revenue, well, you're going to get the white glove treatment, and they're going to bend over backwards to get you the content in the format that you needed. Okay, we're not talking about them. We're talking about the rest of the mid-market and small distributors that needed the same data, right? And the manufacturers didn't want to deal with that. So here comes the syndicators. The syndicators, again, they provide this valuable pass-through system that makes it easy to get access to the product data that the distributors need. But there's a problem. And we're starting to see the impact of that problem here 15, 20 years later. And what this looks like is a commoditization of product data, both on the manufacturer level and on the distributor level. So if you're a manufacturer and you're using a syndicator to provide the data that you have on your products to your channel partners, the main problem that you have is that the syndication model, by its very nature, strips away uniqueness of your brand. So you're left with a very generic vanilla version of your product information. um, there's no way to truly be unique other than the products themselves, right? Like you may have better images, theoretically, you may have, a better short description, but essentially everything is boxed into the same format so that when this content gets realized on an e-commerce website at the distributor level, every single product page looks identical. And really, what that means now is that you're not winning at the end user level by brand differentiation. You're really being chosen by does it fit the needs, and is it the most cost effective? And so you're playing a game of price, and it's exactly the game that manufacturers do not want to play. And so that's a major problem. And so you spend all of this money, all of this energy, I mean, teams that you've built and marketing teams and product managers who have invested in making sure that your products stand apart from your competitors, that all goes away. Okay. When it enters into one pipe that again gets disseminated to all of these distributor channels, now you are no different than your competitor essentially. Okay, so that's a major problem. And manufacturers seem to justify this because at least they don't have to handle hundreds of product data requests. And even though there's been large adoption of PIM systems, many manufacturers still operate with product data out of their ERP systems, which or out of spreadsheets, which is simply an inefficient way of doing it. But even with a PIM system, very few have automated workflows and automation in place to be able to, efficiently fulfill your distributor's data requests. Okay, so we have a problem. and you have to kind of make a decision at this point. You have to decide, am I okay with giving my distributors a link to a syndicator and diminishing or watering down my brand? Or do I take on the manual effort of fulfilling the distributor requests and giving them all of the rich content that I have in the format that they need? Okay. It's a very real dilemma that every manufacturer has to consider. And on the flip side, as a distributor, now you have a choice to make, which is equally as difficult. You have to decide, do I go bug my manufacturer and perhaps wait weeks, if not months, for product information? Or perhaps they just simply, send me to the data syndicator because I'm not a big enough account. I'm not important enough to get their attention. So, hey, if I'm 3M and you're, a $50 million distributor, no, just go to the syndicator. They've got our catalog. They'll take care of you. Thank you very much. Okay. So that's one issue, right? Now I have to go to my manufacturer, get them to give me the files I need. They are not going to provide it in the format that I need, most of the time, unless I'm the big box national distributor who owns a huge chunk of their wallet. And now I've got to take that product data and I've got to normalize it. I've got to put it into a taxonomy. I've got to, clean and organize that content, make sure that it's consistent. I need to replace navy with dark blue. I need to replace inches with centimeters, and it goes on and on and on. I have to, create my attributes. I have to fill in those attributes because they're not delivered in the format that my e-commerce system takes. They're not formatted for my ERP. I've got to create a separate file for that. It's a ton of work, right? And so do I want to take that challenge on? I can't manage it in spreadsheets. I can't manage it in my ERP. I can go buy a PIM, but um, then it requires a whole system and a team. And how am I going to do this? And I'm not, we're not a data, business. We're a distribution business, and it becomes super overwhelming. And so enter in the syndicators, enter in the middlemen. And they make it easy because now, as a distributor, I can simply log into the syndicators platform and find my manufacturer and pull down content. Whew, that was fast. That was easy. Seems too good to be true, doesn't it? And that's because it is. It's too good to be true because what happens now is that I've pulled down product data. It's still not in the format that I need it to be in order for it to be truly 2025 B2B e-commerce ready to show the world, ready to market, ready to open it up to AI agents, which are coming soon. And it's simply not there. So now I've got a lot of work to do to make it ready. And I've got to now go back to the manufacturers. I've got to go scrape content off their websites. I've got to go open up their spec sheets and pull in data off their spec sheets and enter it into my spreadsheets or into my system. And it's a hell of a lot of manual labor off for the distributor now. So now the distributor takes on the load. By the way, they're paying for this. Okay. This blows my mind. They're paying for crappy data, and they don't even own it, by the way. It's a subscription. So whether it's through a buying group or whether it's through a third party, these data lakes, these syndicators, they sell data as a subscription. You don't own it. How do I know that? Because I owned a data syndication company. This was very clear in my language, right? Like when I set up a contract, if you stop paying, you no longer own that data, right? And you can no longer publish that data. Okay. It is being rented. It's being leased, right? And as Dave Ramsey says, I don't know if you guys like Dave Ramsey, but I'm not really sure, but I think he's funny. And one of the funny things that he said is that when you lease a car, you're not leasing it, you're getting fleeced. And in other words, you're like a sheep who's getting commercialized over and over again, used for its wool. And that is what a data subscription is, bottom line. And the problem on top of all of this, there's two things. One is I hate to even say this, but the systemic, like the strategic problem is that you now have paid to rent data that is the exact same data that 500 other distributors have. So you have zero differentiation on the website. And this is where the model completely breaks down today. Again, 10 years ago, 15 years ago, wasn't as big of an issue because the data was really mostly about the back end. It was really mostly about serving customers through a gated portal or entering that data into your ERP so that your team can access it. And there was a clean record. That was the value. Well, it doesn't really matter much now because now we have a market, we have an economy, which is digital. And a digital economy means you have to compete online. And by definition, you cannot compete online if you are selling the exact same widget in the exact same way at the exact same price. At this point, the only chance you have is to be the cheapest. And to be the cheapest means you are giving up profit margin and you will eventually die a profitless, sad, cold death. Okay, so this is not an option. What makes it even worse is that these syndicators will actually sell you services and products to enrich and improve and organize the crappy data that they rent you. This is insane to me. This is like renting a house or an apartment And the renter comes in and says, or you go to the renter, you say, well, the walls are like falling apart. The floor, like the carpet is coming up. I mean, this is not good. Like, can you fix this? Like, we can absolutely fix that, Mr. Tenant. But here's what we suggest. We suggest a complete makeover package. And in this package, our team will come in there and we'll redesign your la la la. This is unthinkable, right? And yet this is what happens. Okay. I am probably going to get death threats. I'm probably hated by every syndicator out there, everybody who's put so much time and energy into this model. And it's completely broken. And you're probably wondering right now, like, Matt, like, you've just dismantled this whole product data supply chain. Like, we understand, like, anybody who's on the ground who actually is working in it understands that this is all true. But Matt, what's your solution? Like, are you just gonna leave us with this dark cloud in the room and walk away and say, well, good luck as the house burns down? No, there is a solution. It just may not be the solution you want to hear. The solution, point blank, without a doubt, with zero question or zero doubt in my mind, is data ownership. Own your data. You have to own your data. And whether you are a manufacturer or you are a distributor or a wholesale master distributor, your role today in today's digital economy is to own your data. You cannot outsource this. You cannot rent it. This is something that has to be owned because it is the most, aside of your customer relationships, outside of your most trusted customer relationships, this is the single most valuable asset that your business owns. And so what does that look like? Well, it looks like this. If you're a manufacturer, you need to have a golden record for your catalog content. Okay. It needs to be in a master data management system or a product information management system like Akeneo, like Syndigo, like Stebo Systems, like Precisely. We work with all of those great brands. Those are phenomenal solutions. Some are better fits for different companies. That's part of the reason why we exist. We help fit a manufacturer into the right solution for managing their data. But more than that, like, throwing a product at this issue isn't going to solve it. You can have the greatest PIM, the greatest MDM system in the world, but if it's not set up correctly, if it's not connected, if there's not advanced automation workflows, and if there's not AI technology layered on top of that to reduce the manual labor and increase the operational efficiency, it's going to fall short. It's not going to work. And you're going to go back to the easy way, which is the data syndication pipe. Okay. Is it possible in 2025 to own a single golden record of your catalog content as a manufacturer and to syndicate that content personalized to 500, 600, 1,000 distributors and retailers across the country? Is that possible? It absolutely is possible. It absolutely is possible because the technology is there, the platforms are there, the automation is there. There's AI solutions that fall on top of this, that make this all work in a way that doesn't even require you to add additional staff. It's not about working harder and throwing bodies at this and throwing technology at this. It's about working smarter to figure out a way to own your data and push it where you want it to go in the format that you want it to be, in the completeness level that you need in order to stand apart from your competition. And if you're a distributor, the same goes for you. If you, I don't even know, like, if you're over $5 million in revenue, you cannot operate in a digital first economy without a PIM. Everybody should have a PIM. There's a PIM to fit every budget. There's a PIM to fit every complexity need. There's a PIM to fit every different type of industry and so customer base and needs, complexity levels. But you need a PIM. You need a place where you can take that manufacturer data, bring it into your system, into your one single source of truth, normalize that content yourself. Don't rely on the syndicators, which only get you halfway. Take it all the way in, normalize it all the way, utilize all of that manufacturer product data, and then push that product data to the right digital channels. And you can then take ownership over your destiny, okay? And you're not now competing on price with hundreds of other distributors just like you, selling the exact same product in the exact same data format. So this is how you win today. And I wish there was a better solution. There's the easy solution, and then there's the right way. And as it usually happens in life, the right way is worth it all the time. So go out there, get a PIM, talk to Pivotry. Pivotry makes this whole idea work. If you wonder, like, what does Pivotry do? We make it work. We make the solution. We help you find the right PIM, the right MDM system. We help you integrate it into your existing software and systems. We help you optimize it. We help you set up all of the workflows and automation, help you define all the operational efficiencies in your current challenges, and make your data work in the channels where it needs to work. That's what we do. And so if that's where you need help, if that's something that you need to look into, you need to take another look at this. Maybe you threw a PIM at the problem and you're still buried in requests for data, and you're buried in, data cleansing. This is the time. There's no better time than now, because the longer that we wait, the more difficult and the more pressing this need is going to become. I hope that was helpful. If I can offer any, if I can answer any questions about this, please reach out to me. Happy to chat. I'm Matt Johnson with Pivotry. If you're ready to grow, let's go.